what is smell? As Marcel Proust once said, the smell and taste of things remain poised a long time, like souls, ready to remind us. A bite of a lemon cake or a sip of mint tea can easily transport us back to childhood Sunday mornings spent with our grandparents. We all know it. The sense of smell holds a strong power over us. Nevertheless, it is a power we often underestimate. Unfortunately, my own connection with scent has been changed. Anosmia, the medical term for the loss of smell, struck me during the COVID-19 pandemic. This sensory deprivation is not just an inconvenience. Studies have found that it can lead to issues like losing weight, not feeling safe, feeling depressive symptoms, and having trouble in social situations. And it's this big change that takes us to the main part of our story. Today, we're going to explore a story about a man whose fixation with scents led him down a path of dangerous, esoteric, and risky choices, and eventually to his downfall. To fully understand this story, we need to start at the beginning, with his father. Levi Daniels might not have been as famous as the big names like Rockefeller or Carnegie, but the people who knew about him in the business world thought he was just as impressive. Facing challenges as a German immigrant, he overcame skepticism through smart investments in rising tech firms like IBM and Oracle. In 2003, he launched Teal Orchid, a perfume brand blending European elegance with American boldness, quickly gaining popularity. Teal Orchid's ads were really out there and hard to miss. Their TV commercials were full of fancy and glamorous scenes that you'd see all the time during the most watched shows.
This is Whispering Woods by Teal Orchid.
Teal Orchid, yeah, it's such a great fragrance.
Yeah, she gave me this new fragrance by Teal Orchid.
No, it's a mistake. It's just for me at night.
Teal Orchid's perfumes like Velvet Ember, Citrus Zephyr, and Whispering Woods were all hits because they knew exactly what people liked. Even though the ads were kind of predictable, these scents sold really well. Many investors were super interested in Teal Orchid too. Big names like John Bogle, Joel Greenblatt, and Ghislaine Maxwell put their money into the company, making it even more popular. With these heavy hitters involved, the company's growth just kept going up. At least that's how it seemed until everything changed. On June 4th, 2007, the fast growth came to a sudden stop when its founder, who was only 85, passed away in his sleep. After Levi Daniels' sudden death, his son, Jason Daniels, was the one left to take over Teal Orchid. At 41, stepped into the role of chief executive, and right away it was clear he wasn't going to run things like his father did. Jason was born into a rich family and received education at prestigious schools, including Harvard Business School. But until he took charge, his job at his dad's company didn't really mean much. People were definitely wondering if he was up for the job. He wanted to take Teal Orchid in a totally new direction. One of the first big things Jason did was stop selling all their current perfumes. This was a strange move and a huge risk, and it made a lot of people really confused. By 2008, the company had gotten really quiet, and everyone was guessing about what would happen next. When the economy was hitting a rough patch, Jason tried to take Teal Orchid into some pretty weird territory with new kinds of perfumes. He moved away from what made them popular. He introduced fragrances laced with notes of petroleum, plastic, and the essence of human sweat. These radical scents did not resonate with consumers. The public, already becoming more and more worried with spending money during the economic crisis, stuck with what they knew instead of trying Jason's wild new perfumes. The sales at Teal Orchid took a hit because of this. The perfumes were meant to make people feel all sorts of things and push the limits of what a scent could be, but they were just too different from what people actually wanted, especially when times were tough. The perfume bottles at Teal Orchid were really something. They looked cool, but the story of the perfume was kind of confusing for most people. Take Lust in the Pasture, for example. It was a scent described as a blend of pastoral poetry and risque animalistic escapades. It is a sensory duality of innocence and carnality, read shepherd having intercourse with a sheep. But to a lot of folks, including me, it just seemed to be in bad taste. Critics said it was clear that Jason didn't really get what people wanted. His big ideas might have worked if the economy wasn't in such a bad place. Jason tried to shake up what luxury perfume meant, but he jumped too far, too fast, and it left the company in a really shaky spot. As I mentioned before, when Jason took over Teal Orchid, not everyone was sure it was for the better. In the first and last blog post he published on the company's website, he said he had changed the whole perfume game. He talked about working with diffusion physicists and behavioral psychologists to craft scents that were imperceptible to humans. Daniel's unconventional approach included an empirical testing phase with animals. He used a bear. Vorchun, the bear overseen by his keeper, Sergei Grigoriev, was part of the team that was trying to figure out if these new, invisible scents actually did anything. Teal Orchid later got into even more trouble when they got caught up in legal issues over having whale spermaceti in their perfume. That substance was used in old-school perfumes, but it's not allowed anymore because it comes from whales that are at risk of going extinct. Even though they got off the hook and the charges didn't stick, the whole thing made the company look bad. People started wondering if it was all just a stunt to get attention that went really wrong. Jason's problems at Teal Orchid weren't just about the perfumes not selling. His personal life was falling apart too. Clara Morris Daniels, Jason's wife, publicly ended their marriage, citing his obsession with the company as the catalyst for her decision. Jason's mother, Eleanor Daniels, denounced Jason, accusing him of defiling the Daniels legacy with his reckless pursuits at Teal Orchid. Investors got worried when they saw Teal Orchid researching perfumes that people couldn't even smell, and when they noticed Jason spending money on bear cubs. They wanted to cut their losses and get out, but they hit a wall. Turns out, Jason's dad Levi had written the contracts so well that the investors couldn't leave without significant penalties. So even though a lot of people didn't agree with what Jason was doing, those contracts gave him enough money to keep going with his insane ideas. The biggest disaster for Teal Orchid didn't come from their sales or the investors. It came from a shocking accident. Vorchun, the bear they were using for scent tests, suddenly attacked and mauled Grigoriev, the guy taking care of him, to death. By 2010, Teal Orchid had to shut down for good. Even though the investors were stuck because of those tight contracts, there was nothing left to save. The business was finished, and Jason was left by himself, surrounded by the wreckage of the great company his father had built. After Teal Orchid shut down, Jason Daniels went quiet, but he wasn't done yet. In 2014, he dropped a book called Molecular Geometry and Olfactory Dynamics. I stumbled on it through a random Reddit post, and let me tell you, it's a wild read. It was actually the starting point of making this video. The thick book was a mix of dense interdisciplinary research and what could only be described as evident fiction. Daniels, it seemed, had neglected the standards of scientific method. He claimed that certain smells could mess with things like your blood pressure and heart rate, and could even heal illnesses without any doctors or medicine. Now, there's some truth that smells can help with certain things, but nothing like the miracles Jason was talking about in his book. This book also contained an odd assortment of diagrams and references that spanned from ancient Egyptian texts to Thelema and Taoist alchemy. The book proposed magical rituals enhanced the efficacy of aromatic compounds. Molecular Geometry and Olfactory Dynamics has only 1,000 copies and remained his magnum opus. After that, Jason Daniels just disappeared. Nobody knew where he went. He left behind a lot of unanswered questions and a story that was just as mysterious as the scents he was so obsessed with. So, what's the takeaway from the Teal Orchid story? The question at the heart of this saga: was Jason Daniels simply striving to step out of his father's shadow, or was there something else he wanted to prove? Was he just a rich son inflated with self-importance, ensnared by his own arrogance? Or maybe it's a story about a misunderstood genius. Name one genius that ain't crazy, as Kanye puts it. You know the rules. At its core, the Teal Orchid story is a testament to the profound influence of scent. A mere whiff can transport us back in time, eliciting emotions long buried. Its impact is enigmatic. It might actually drive you crazy. Given that our olfactory abilities precede both hearing and sight, it's theorized that scent plays a crucial role in the development of cognitive systems, particularly in relation to psychiatric disorders, such as schizophrenia, where network synchronization is disrupted. However, I resist the notion that James Daniels has succumbed to madness. To claim so would be a trivial and dismissive interpretation of a man deeply knowledgeable about the art of perfumery. Perhaps in time, Daniels will emerge from his silence, or maybe he continues to craft his subtle scents, and some of us may even be affected by this man's life work. We'll never know.